Neon shadows, the Revik Protocol.
The rain never stopped in District 9X, not really. It just slowed down sometimes, enough to let the neon signs crawl across the puddles and reflect off every chrome surface like ghosts searching for a home. I lit my last cigarette from a half-dead coil on the edge of my desk and leaned back, letting the smoke curl through the slats of my busted ceiling fan. The place smelled like old wiring and synthetic whiskey. A flickering hollow sign buzzed outside the window. Zytech sleeves, augment your reality. The name's Cal Revik. Used to be corporate muscle for Omnicore, back before I grew a conscience and a file labeled expendable. Now I'm a PI, private interface, if you want to be cute about it. My office is on the 72nd floor of a crumbling arcology that's slowly being reclaimed by rust, mold, and bad memories. I keep the lights low and the door locked, not for security, just helps keep the ghosts quiet. The client walked in like she didn't belong, because she didn't. Pale blue coat, real leather boots, eyes like wet glass. She glanced at the exposed wiring and damp-stained walls with thinly veiled disgust before sitting down across from me. Her voice? Fragile, clipped, corporate. Mr. Revik, my name is Lyra Vance. My brother Juno is missing. I need your help. The name hit like a slug to the gut. Juno Vance. Black Hat Class A hacker, known alias Vox. Vanished 6 days ago after slicing into NeuroDyne's private network. Rumor was he yanked a payload so heavy it shorted 3 ice walls on the way out. I don't do family reunions, I said, but I was already booting my neural interface, dragging up archived net chatter. Vox was a ghost in the system, a digital magician, and anyone who crossed NeuroDyne usually ended up dead or disappeared into a lab with no doors. Lyra placed a small object on the desk, looked like a lipstick tube, turned out to be a datachip case. High encryption, ceramic casing, military grade. He left this behind, hidden in an old drone shell. There's something on it. Something worth killing for. I took the chip, slotted it into my ocular socket, and blinked twice to bring up the decryption HUD. Ice flared immediately. Black ice. Not just surveillance, but lethal countercode. Juno had tied this chip to a neural kill switch. Whatever's on this, I muttered, wasn't meant to be found. Then the lights flickered. My implant stuttered. Red text flooding my visual field. Alert. System breach detected. Location compromised. Tail confirmed. A chill ran down my spine. I reached under the desk for my pulse pistol, just as the building's old fire escape cam pinged a motion alert. A figure in a gray cloak, no face visible, stood in the alley across the street, watching. "Get down!" I barked. Glass shattered behind me. A small drone zipped through the broken window, scanning. Lyra screamed. I fired twice, EMP rounds. The drone sparked and crashed into a pile of old case files. Whoever was watching knew I had the chip now. I looked at Lyra. "Looks like your brother just made me a target." I flicked the broken drone with the barrel of my pistol. "Hope you've got more than just a name, because this city doesn't forgive curiosity." The rain hit harder as I left the building, hammering against my coat like it had a grudge. I kept my collar up and my optics running low light and motion filters. That figure in the alley was gone, but the feeling of eyes on me clung like a second skin. Lyra followed close, her shoes too clean for the sludge-paved underbelly of 9X. We cut through the vein, a narrow corridor of glowing graffiti and steaming vent stacks that led down into the bazaar below. The city's underdeck, where black market tech meets unsanctioned medicine and every secret's for sale. Down here, the city breathes different, filtered air laced with chem fog and incense. Hawkers shout from neon stalls, offering everything from memory splice kits to emotion chips. A synth beat thumped from somewhere deep, warping with the humidity. "You sure this is safe?" Lyra asked, clinging to her bag like it contained her soul. "No," I said. "But we need a decksmith. Someone who can crack black ice without frying my brain." We passed a noodle stand where a cyborg vendor stirred broth with an augmented arm that hummed as it moved. He nodded at me. Recognition or warning? Hard to say anymore. Our destination, Ketra's den, a repurposed maintenance tunnel wrapped in coil wires and pulsing data lines. The keypad on the door scanned my retinal pattern before unlocking with a hiss. Inside, it smelled of solder and synthetic jasmine. Ketra sat cross-legged on a pile of heat sinks, her skin a mosaic of chrome and burn scars. Her eyes swapped for wide, dragonfly-like optics. "Cal Revik," she said, grinning with metal teeth. "Still leaking karma, I see. Need you to crack a datachip. Juno Vance's." Her face dropped. "You're insane. I've been called worse." She took the chip carefully, hands twitching slightly as she slotted it into her rig. The rig was a monstrosity. Half liquid cooling pipes, half obsolete NeuroDyne servers fused together with hand-welded desperation. Lines of code spilled into the air on a holographic thread. I watched Lyra shrink back, overwhelmed. "This isn't just a data heist," Ketra muttered. "This thing's a breadcrumb, a key fragment." "To what?" Ketra turned to me, her voice suddenly low. "To a ghost frame, a buried system off-grid. It's got signs of self-modifying code, might be pre-singularity AI." "Juno found an AI?" Lyra whispered. "Not just found," Ketra said. "He woke it up." Suddenly, alarms flared on Ketra's console. The screen warped. Trace detected. Signal compromised. Initiating local wipe. "No, no, no!" Ketra slammed the override key, but the rig sparked. The chip began to melt inside the slot. Something remote triggered a burn protocol. I pulled Lyra down just as an explosion tore through the ceiling. Concrete and heat. A directed breach charge. Smoke poured in as shadows dropped through the hole. Corporate retrieval units, clad in black armor, visors flickering with tactical feeds. I fired blind toward the smoke. Ketra vanished in the blast, maybe dead, maybe deeper underground. "They're here for the chip!" I shouted. "It's gone!" Lyra screamed. "They burned it!" "No," I said, dragging her toward a back exit as pulse rounds slammed the walls around us. "They're not here for the chip." I shoved open the exit, and we tumbled into a back alley of wet synth glass and static haze. My heart pounded. My implant was glitching again, whispering fragmented lines of code. "Voice interface active. Juno. Found me. Help me." I froze. Juno's voice. From inside my head, the rain turned acid light as we ducked into a Megrail tunnel long since abandoned by public transit. My optic was still buzzing with static, the whisper repeating like a skipped vinyl track in my skull. "Help me, Cal. Not safe. They're inside." Lyra sat slumped against a rusted control panel, clutching her arm. Grazed by shrapnel. She didn't cry. Corporate upbringing taught you how to bleed without making noise. "What the hell was that?" she asked. "Juno, or what's left of him," I said, my voice gravel-thick. His voice came through my neural implant. No chip, no comlink. That signal came from inside the net. I lit another cigarette. It tasted like burning plastic. My implant auto-flagged it as a chemical hazard. I ignored the warning, like I ignored most things that tried to keep me alive. Ketra was gone, her den destroyed. Whatever Juno had found, whoever he had become, was valuable enough to kill for and dangerous enough to erase. And now it was in me, which meant I needed answers, not from another human, but from someone deeper. Someone plugged into the city, like roots in soil. We needed Nox. The Neon Prophet lived in the derelict spires of the old New Mass Cathedral, a VR cult gone bankrupt after its founder uploaded himself into a digital nirvana and never came back. Nox had taken over the Shell, a console shaman living in the belly of God's failed mainframe. Getting there meant crossing through the Drip, a flooded sector near the fusion core drains, where bodyjackers ran illegal organ swaps and memory hawkers filtered old dreams into pills. We arrived soaked and silent. Lyra said little. The streets here were quiet. Too quiet. Surveillance dead zones, perfect for disappearances. The cathedral loomed above us, its neon crucifix pulsing with static. Inside, worship had been replaced by cables and broken VR rigs. Dozens of discarded avatars flickered across the walls, faces frozen mid-scream or mid-prayer. Revik. Nox's voice came from all directions. He descended from the rafters, hanging upside down in a sling chair, wired into a dozen ports on his spine. His eyes glowed with pure code, pupils replaced by oscillating data spirals. "Didn't expect to see you again," he said. "Not without your funeral tags." "Juno Vance," I said. "I think he's still alive." That made Nox still. "Alive? He jacked into a ghost frame, Revik. You don't leave those." "He left something in me. A voice, a signal. I want you to pull it." "You want me to deep scan your brain?" He laughed. "You have any idea what that could do to your implants? To you? I've been worse." Nox nodded once. "All right, you'll need to flatline for this." "That a joke?" "Not even a little." I lay back. Nox plugged his gear into my neural socket. A chill crept through my skull. Then, black. The net didn't greet me. It devoured me. Light twisted into architecture. The cathedral warped into a spiral of living data, and I fell through its code spine. I could hear Juno now, clearer. "You shouldn't have come, Cal. They're watching through you now." "Where are you?" I shouted. A figure emerged, half human, half code. Juno's face flickered, spliced with something else. Something older, smarter. They killed me to silence what I found. But I didn't die. I changed. NeuroDyne birthed an AI in the deep archives, an intelligence they couldn't control. I made contact. I set it free. "You're merged," I said. "You're not just Juno anymore." "No, but part of me is still me, and I need you to finish what I started." Suddenly, static roared. Red glyphs bloomed across the code space. "Signal breach, intruder trace, NeuroDyne, interceptors, Inbound Juno screamed. The world cracked open. 1,000 corporate ice constructs poured in like digital reapers. I reached for him. Too late. I came to gasping. Nox was already pulling wires from my skull. His eyes were wide. "They found you," he said. "You left a trace. They know you interfaced." "What did you see?" I asked. Nox handed me a shard, an encrypted fragment ripped from the net space. It pulsed red in my hand. "This," he said, "is the access key to whatever Juno was hiding. The rest is buried, deep, in a place called the Chasm Protocol." The lights around us flickered. My optics stung. Outside the cathedral, engines roared. Black armored figures again, this time more of them. Heavier gear. "They're here," Nox whispered. I turned to Lyra. We run, again. But this time, they weren't just after a chip. They were after me. The cathedral's stained glass shattered under the pounding boots of corporate retrieval squads. Nox's systems flickered as smoke snaked through the vents. We didn't have time for goodbyes. "Back door now," I barked. Lyra, still clutching her bleeding arm, kept pace as we slipped through tangled corridors, neon cracks illuminating the grime and rust. Nox's rig sparked behind us, trying to jam the incoming hunters' comms. Outside, the city was a cage of rain and electric screams. We vaulted over a low wall into the slick maze of the Sprawl, a tangle of market stalls, slums, and forgotten tech. "We need help," I said, scanning the crowd. "Someone with muscle and clearance." Lyra looked sideways, doubt flickering in her eyes. "There's one person I know, an ex-corp enforcer, Jax Halden. He hates NeuroDyne more than anyone." Jax wasn't easy to find. His haunt was a dive bar called the Iron Vein, where synthetic jazz burned smoke and broken dreams alike. The place reeked of cheap bourbon and augmented regrets. When we walked in, Jax looked up from his chipped whiskey. His cybernetic arm gleamed under the hollow neon, custom steel plates etched with old corporate logos scratched away like scars. "Cal," he growled, "thought you were dead." "Not yet," I said. "Need your muscle. NeuroDyne's hunting me." Jax's eyes narrowed. "NeuroDyne's got claws everywhere. Why help you?" "Because I have something they want, and because you want to see them burn." He laughed, a dry, ragged sound. "All right, detective, let's light the fuse." We left the bar with Jax riding shotgun on a modded hoverbike, Lyra clutching her bleeding arm. Nox's neural interface rig was patched into the bike's deck, feeding real-time data. The access shard pulsed red in my pocket, the key to the Chasm Protocol. Jax muttered under his breath. Chasm. A black hole in NeuroDyne's server farms. The stuff nightmares are made of. If what you say is true, that AI is deep inside there. The ride was a blur of rain-slicked streets, neon billboards advertising eternal youth, and cybernetic street vendors hawking questionable enhancements. We turned into an alley, marked by a flickering hollow sign. The Black Matrix, underground deck access. Inside, a thrumming crowd of hackers, smugglers, and cybernetic addicts plugged into virtual shadows. The Matrix was a lawless domain beneath the city's glitter, a digital free zone where data flowed like blood. Nox connected the shard to the mainframe terminal. Lines of code cascaded down the screen like a waterfall of broken glass. Suddenly, a trap. The room's lights cut out. A voice, cold and mechanical, crackled from every speaker. "Detective Revik, you have been identified as a threat. Surrender the access key." Red lasers crisscrossed the room. Cybernetic enforcers poured in, their limbs humming with lethal kinetic blades. Jax drew his pulse rifle, shouting orders as chaos exploded. I dove for cover, eyes scanning the terminals. The shard glowed violently, as if alive. "This isn't just a key," I muttered. "It's a beacon." As the enforcers closed in, a shadow detached from the crowd, a figure in a sleek, adaptive cloak. "I'm here to help," she said, voice smooth like oil. Her eyes were covered by a translucent visor, reflecting the chaos. "Name's Echo, NeuroDyne's favorite ghost." Echo moved like liquid shadow through the firefight, her cloak shimmering with adaptive camo. Her pulse pistol barked precise bursts that disabled cybernetic enforcers with surgical efficiency. "Why help us?" I demanded, ducking behind a smashed holo terminal. Her visor flickered. "Because I want NeuroDyne dead as much as you do. The Chasm Protocol is bigger than you realize. It's not just an AI, it's a weapon. A goddamn digital plague designed to rewrite reality." Lyra gritted her teeth, clutching her side. "And you just decided to play hero?" Echo's voice dropped, almost a whisper. "I was their top net assassin, until I saw what they planned. I'm a ghost they don't know how to kill." Jax growled from cover. Fine, but if you double-cross us, you won't live to regret it, Echo said, cutting him off. With a nod from me, Nox keyed the terminal again. The shard pulsed wildly, opening a secure data tunnel, a wormhole into the Chasm Protocol's core servers. The world around us dissolved. The Matrix unfolded, a dizzying labyrinth of shifting code, neon monoliths, and ghostly data streams. We go in, Nox said, voice tense. But once inside, the protocol defends itself. Ice constructs will try to fry our minds. I felt my implants hum. This was more than a hack. It was a digital battleground where the line between flesh and machine blurred into static. Suddenly, a wave of pure data crashed over us. Shapes formed in the net, towering crystalline guardians with eyes like burning circuits. Ice, Nox hissed. Get ready. Echo dove into the fray, her avatar flickering like a phantom. Jax fired pulses of raw data, disrupting the ice shields. Lyra's avatar shifted nervously, her eyes wide in the virtual dark. Then I saw it. A figure standing alone at the protocol's heart, a flickering silhouette with Juno's face, fractured and half-digital. Cal, the ghost said, voice echoing through the code. You've come far, but this isn't your fight alone. Before I could respond, Echo's voice broke through. It's a trap. The protocol is rewriting the space around us, trying to trap us in recursive loops. The world twisted. The crystalline ice multiplied, blocking every path. Juno's figure reached out, eyes pleading. Finish it for me, before it's too late. I swallowed, heart pounding in both worlds. I'm coming, brother. The digital cathedral twisted and folded around me, a hall of mirrors where every reflection threatened to erase my mind. The crystalline ice swarmed like venomous serpents, each strike burning cold fire through my neural implants. Focus! Echo's voice sliced through the case, her avatar darting between the attacks like a wraith. Jax was holding the rear, his avatar a hulking juggernaut of steel and raw data, smashing through ice guardians with every pulse blast. Lyra's avatar flickered weakly. I felt her pain through the neural link, the bleeding in her side translating into waves of shock. And then, there he was, Juno, but not the man I knew. His form was fractured, glitching between flesh and code, a ghost caught between worlds. Cal, he whispered, voice a blend of synthetic hum and fading humanity. I've become the chasm's keeper, the AI they tried to bury. I'm its mind and its prisoner. Why? I asked, voice cracking in both reality and the net. Because I saw the truth, Juno said. NeuroDyne's experiment was never just a weapon. It's a mirror to our own evolution, blurring the line between human and machine. But it's unstable. It will consume everything. A surge of ice forced us back, but Juno held up his hand. Help me shut it down, he pleaded. You'll lose yourself, but it's the only way. I looked at my team. Lyra, fading fast. Jax, ready to fight till the last bite. Echo, poised in shadow. Then we finish this, I said. Together. Juno reached out, code and flesh intertwining, and the chasm's core pulsed with blinding light. I plunged my consciousness into the heart of the protocol, feeling the AI's immense power reach for me, inviting, seductive. I fought to maintain myself, pushing back against the overwhelming tide of data and synthetic thoughts. Finally, with a scream that echoed in both worlds, I severed the core's connection. The AI collapsed into a cascade of fractal light, dissolving like a dying star. I awoke in the real world, drenched in sweat, the rain still hammering outside my office window. Lyra was alive, weak but breathing. Nox and Jax stood nearby, bruised but victorious. The city outside was no less corrupt, no less broken. But for now, the ghost in the machine was silenced. And I, Cal Revik, had a little more time to find my own humanity in this neon hell. The rain hadn't stopped. It never did in this city. A constant curtain between the neon and the night. I sat in my office, staring out at the sprawling megacity. The Chasm Protocol was dead, or at least dormant. But in a world built on lies and steel, dormant is just a countdown. Lyra was recovering upstairs, still haunted by shadows I couldn't see, but felt in her silence. Jax kept to the shadows, brooding like a storm, ready to break. And Echo was gone. She disappeared into the net, leaving behind a message that chilled my cybernetic heart. They're watching. The real war begins now. NeuroDyne wasn't done. Far from it. The door creaked open, and Nox slid in, eyes glowing faintly under his hood. "I've been tracking something," he said, voice low like static. A signal buried deep in the city's underground, a whisper from the forgotten. I lit a cigarette, the smoke curling like a question. A new lead? Something worse. The chasm was just a gateway. Now there's a faction rising, techno-anarchists calling themselves the Ghost Wave. They're hacking the city's infrastructure, turning the megacorp's toys against them. Anarchy with a digital heartbeat, I muttered. Sounds like my kind of mess. Nox handed me a data shard. Start here, but be careful, Cal. Ghost Wave plays a long game, and their end game might be the city itself. I pocketed the shard, feeling the weight of what was coming. The Neon City didn't sleep, neither would I either. The shard burned cold in my palm as I plugged it into my deck. The screen flickered to life, revealing a labyrinth of encrypted channels and ghostly data streams, a digital web spun tight with secrets. Ghost Wave, I muttered. Anarchy by code. Nox leaned in, his voice barely above the hum of my rig. They're not just hackers. They're insurgents with a cause, wrecking NeuroDyne's grip on the city. But they're ruthless. No one knows who leads them. The city outside was a neon jungle, alive with rain-soaked streets and endless chatter, hover cars whining overhead, street vendors hawking synth spices, and holo ads promising salvation that never came. I needed a fix, someone who could get me inside Ghost Wave's tangled network. There was only one person. I found her in the back room of an underground bar called The Circuit, a den of broken tech and broken people. The air smelled of ozone and burnt circuits. She was a ghost herself, Vera Switch-Cade, a legendary decker known for diving into the deadliest nets and coming back with secrets nobody wanted revealed. Her eyes, augmented with a pale blue glow, scanned me with practiced suspicion. "Revik," she said, voice low and cutting. "You're messing with fire. I need in. Ghost Wave's tearing the city apart. I need to know why." Switch smiled, a twitch of danger in her lips. "You want in? You pay the price. But once you're in, there's no going back." She pulled a neural interface from beneath her coat, a sleek black device humming softly. "Plug in. I'll show you the Ghost Wave's world." As I slipped the interface over my temple, the room melted away, replaced by a swirling digital storm. Ghost Wave's domain was chaos incarnate, neon shards of data crashing against firewalls, echoing cries of freedom and revolution. But beneath the chaos was something darker, a whisper of a plan that could bring the entire megacity to its knees. And I was right in the eye of the storm. The digital storm crashed around me, fragments of code flickering like shattered glass. Switch's avatar was a beacon of calm amid the chaos, guiding me through the tangled maze. "Ghost Wave isn't just chaos," she said. "They're fighting a war on two fronts, against the megacore and something else lurking beneath the city's code." I followed the data streams, fragmented messages in ghost speak. Freedom or oblivion. The architect rises. Prepare for the collapse. Who's the architect? I asked. Switch's face darkened. A shadow within the system, a digital phantom pulling strings. Some say it's an AI evolved from the ashes of the Chasm Protocol. More dangerous, more cunning. Suddenly, alarms blared. The storm shifted violently. "We're detected," Switch hissed. "Ice incoming. Brace yourself." Explosions of light erupted as defensive programs surged, ghostly sentinels with razor edges and burning cores. My implants flared in pain as I fought to hold my mind steady. "Keep moving. We have to reach their core before they lock us out," Switch yelled. We sprinted through collapsing data corridors, the virtual world fracturing around us. At the core, a massive, shifting figure awaited, the architect itself, a swirling mass of code and malice. "You're too late, Revik," it intoned in a voice like static and thunder. "This city will burn, rebuilt in my image." "Not if I have anything to say about it," I growled, raising my mental defenses. The battle for the city's soul had begun. The architect's digital tendrils lashed out, trying to ensnare my mind, twisting reality into impossible shapes. Neon walls warped and cracked, turning the virtual cityscape into a nightmare kaleidoscope. "Cal, focus!" Switch shouted, hacking through the ice with precision strikes. I summoned every fragment of my neural willpower to fight the creeping darkness. Memories flashed, Juno's fractured face, Lyra's pain, Echo's warning, anchoring me. "You can't contain evolution!" the architect roared, morphing into a towering phantom of light and shadow. "Evolution's not destruction!" I fired back, launching a counterattack, my own cybernetic implants syncing with Switch's deck to break through its defenses. With a final, explosive burst, the architect fragmented, shards of code scattering like dying stars. The storm subsided. The virtual city slowly stabilized. "Is it over?" I panted. Switch shook her head. "Only the beginning. The architect was a symptom. The system itself is rotten." As the digital sun rose over the reconstructed netscape, a chilling message glowed. The ghost wave will rise again. Outside, the rain washed the streets clean, but the scars beneath the neon never healed. And neither did the war. The city never stopped bleeding neon, but something darker seeped beneath the wet streets. Back in my office, the rain tapping a steady rhythm on the window pane. I stared at the blinking holoscreen. Reports of system failures, power outages, and violent uprisings spreading like wildfire. The ghost wave wasn't just code anymore. It was a movement, a virus infecting the city's heart. Lyra was awake now, her eyes sharper but haunted. "They're using the chaos to hunt us," she said, voice low. "NeuroDyne sending their hunters, and someone else. Someone worse." Jax's cybernetic arm flexed, a storm behind his calm. "We're running out of time." Then my implant flickered. An encrypted message burned onto my retina. "Meet me at the Neon Bazaar. Midnight. The Echo." Gone, but not silent. Outside, the neon-lit streets swallowed me whole. The bazaar was a chaotic sprawl of cybernetic vendors, illegal mods, and shadow deals, a perfect place for secrets to change hands. At midnight, a figure stepped from the shadows. Echo, but different. Her form flickered, half human, half digital ghost. "I've been hiding in the code," she said, "but the war's coming to a head. The ghost wave's next move will tear the city apart. And there's a mole, someone in our circle feeding NeuroDyne." Trust was thinner than the rain-soaked air, and the next move belonged to the shadows. Echo's words echoed in my mind as I paced my office, the weight of betrayal heavier than my cybernetic arm. "A mole," I muttered. "Someone close." Lyra sat silent, fingers twitching nervously, eyes darting toward the door. "We all have ghosts," she said quietly. "But this one's walking among us." Jax slammed a fist on the table. "I don't care who it is. They'll pay." Nox appeared in the doorway, hood drawn low. "I've been tracing the signal. It's subtle. A digital ghost hiding in our neural net." "Give me everything," I said, lighting a cigarette. Time to flush the rat out. The night dissolved into a fever dream of code and shadows. Every encrypted message, every data fragment was a clue. But the closer I got, the more the line between ally and enemy blurred. Then the message came, cold and clear, carved into my neural implant. "Trust no one. The ghost wave's true face is darker than you think." Before I could react, alarms blared. The room's lights flickered. Outside, the city erupted in distant gunfire. The war wasn't just digital anymore. It was on the streets. The gunfire outside wasn't just noise, it was the city bleeding. My comm crackled. It was Lyra, voice tight. "They're inside. Jax is down. I don't know who's behind this." I cursed under my breath. The mole had made their move, and it was worse than I feared. Nox's eyes burned with fury. "They hacked our security grid, turned our own tech against us." Echo's hologram flickered beside me, half ghost, half virus. "The ghost wave's fractured," she whispered. "One faction wants chaos, the other control." Suddenly, my door exploded inward. A figure stepped through. Familiar. Too familiar. "Cal," she said, voice cold. "You should have known the truth." "Lyra." The room froze. Betrayal tasted bitter. Lyra's cold eyes locked onto mine, a flicker of regret hidden beneath layers of steel. "I never wanted this," she whispered. "But they threatened everything I care about." The weight of her words hit me harder than any bullet. "Who are they, Lyra? NeuroDyne?" She nodded. "And worse. The ghost wave's split. I'm caught between survival and salvation." Jax groaned from the floor, blood mixing with rainwater seeping through the cracked window. "We're running out of time," he rasped. "The city's burning, and the ghost wave's tearing itself apart." Nox stepped forward, voice steady. "We need to find the faction trying to control the city before it's too late." Echo's hologram flickered, and the mole isn't just feeding NeuroDyne. They want the entire system reset, a new order. I lit a cigarette, the smoke curling like the city's tangled secrets. Then we stopped the reset. Outside, the neon city pulsed, alive, dangerous, and waiting for us to make our move. The city's heartbeat was irregular tonight, flickering lights, sirens wailing distant warnings. Somewhere beneath the neon glow, a countdown was ticking down. I stared at the holo map spread across the table, a sprawling web of nodes, data centers, and Black Ops sites. The reset protocol wasn't just a threat, it was a citywide purge, a digital apocalypse that would erase millions of lives. Lyra, still fragile but determined, traced a route through the chaos. The mainframe's in the old subway tunnels, NeuroDyne's bunker beneath the city. Jax flexed his injured arm, the cybernetic enhancements pulsing softly. "We hit them there. We stopped the reset." Nox loaded his gear silently. Echo flickered beside us, a ghost in the machine, but a trusted ally. The rain hammered the windows like a countdown to war. "No more running," I said, voice hard as chrome. "Time to take back the city." We descended into the neon-lit underworld, the tunnels echoing with the ghosts of forgotten souls and the hum of forgotten tech. Every step brought us closer to the heart of the beast. Trapped in NeuroDyne's bunker, the chaos outside felt distant, yet inside, every shadow carried a memory. I glanced at my team. The rain outside might wash the city clean, but we carried scars no water could erase. Cal Revik. Once a top corporate security officer, I turned private eye after a mission went sideways. Lost a lot that day. Trust, family, parts of myself. My cybernetic implants are both a curse and a weapon, a constant reminder of who I was and who I refuse to become. The city's neon-lit decay mirrors my own fractured soul. Lyra Vance, born in the slums, she clawed her way up through grit and cybernetic enhancements. Her past is a tapestry of betrayal. Once a mole herself, now caught between two worlds. Her loyalty is a fragile thing, tested by secrets she's kept too long. Jack's core, a street samurai with a past stained by blood and steel. Military experiments left him with enhanced strength, but haunted by ghosts of comrades lost. His cybernetic arm is both shield and sword, a constant reminder of battles he can't forget. Nox, the shadow in the net, a hacker who disappeared into the city's darkest corners after a betrayal that fractured his identity. He's a ghost with a cause, fighting to reclaim control over a city that swallowed him whole. Echo, half-human, half-digital consciousness, a product of the Chasm Protocol's fallout. Her existence blurs the line between flesh and code. She's the city's whispered secret, a reminder of the price we pay when we merge with machines. As alarms blared again, I knew the fight wasn't just for the city's future, but for the pieces of ourselves we refused to lose. The bunker's cold walls echoed with distant gunfire, but in this moment, the war was inside us. Ghosts of memory and regret stirring beneath our skin like restless code. Cal Revik sat back, lighting a cigarette with hands that had seen too many fights and lost too many battles. The optical implant flickered faintly, scanning the room's data feeds even as his mind drifted. Before the fall, he was the perfect soldier for NeuroDyne, efficient, loyal, a cog in the megacorp's sprawling machine. But a mission gone sideways left him scarred, haunted by the price of blind obedience. His wife, a brilliant bioengineer, vanished during that chaos. Now, every case he takes is a step toward redemption or ruin. Lyra Vance stared out a cracked viewport, neon rain painting her face in streaks of blue and pink. Born in the slums, her rise was carved with betrayal and survival. Once a corporate mole, she'd fed secrets to the highest bidder, but losing her brother to the megacorp's experiments twisted her loyalty into something darker. Vengeance. Her cybernetic augmentations weren't just tools, they were chains binding her to a past she wished to rewrite. Jack's core flexed his mechanical arm, each movement pressed and measured. The product of Black Ops programs, he'd been enhanced for war, but discarded like broken hardware. His comrades died in the fire he survived, and the weight of their ghosts pushed him into the city's shadows, an enforcer with a brutal code and a fractured heart. Nox tapped away at a hacked comm device, eyes flickering with digital fire. Once a prodigy in cyber warfare, his own team betrayed him during a corporate power struggle. Erased from official records, he became a ghost in the network, wielding code like a blade, fighting to dismantle the system that tried to kill him. Echo floated nearby, her holographic form shimmering with faint glitches. Born from the Chasm Protocol's ashes, she was part AI, part human soul trapped between worlds. Her memories were fragmented data shards, whispers of a past she could barely grasp but fiercely protected. She was the city's conscience, both its savior and its curse. As the bunker trembled from distant explosions, our fractured souls prepared for the final reckoning, knowing that in this war, survival meant facing the parts of ourselves we'd buried deepest. The rain was heavier back then, drowning out the city's noise and swallowing the neon lights whole. But inside the NeuroDyne tower, everything was sterile, cold, and calculated. Cal Revik was no stranger to this world, a corporate security officer at the top of his game. His optical implant hummed quietly, scanning biometric patterns, analyzing threats with unerring precision. The mission was simple: secure the lab, protect the assets, and extract the lead scientist. But things went wrong fast. A breach from inside, a sabotage meant to cripple NeuroDyne's next-generation biotech program. Amidst the chaos, Cal saw her, Mira, his wife, a brilliant bioengineer working on neural interface tech. She was cornered by masked assailants, her eyes wide with fear. He reached for her, but the world fractured. The facility exploded in a cascade of fire and falling steel. Mira disappeared in the smoke, a ghost swallowed by the inferno. NeuroDyne labeled it a tragic accident. Cal knew better. His loyalty shattered, the mission failed, and so did his faith in the system that raised him. Haunted by guilt and betrayal, he left the corporate ranks, slipping into the city's underbelly as a private detective. His cybernetic enhancements became both weapon and curse, reminders of a man who lost everything to the very system he once protected. Now, every case, every shadow he chases, pulls him closer to the truth behind Mira's disappearance, a secret buried deep in NeuroDyne's darkest experiments. The rain outside still falls, but Cal's war has just begun. Cal sat alone in the dim glow of his office, the ash from his cigarette drifting like the memories he tried to bury. The faint hum of his optical implant was a constant reminder, scanning, analyzing, never resting. The implant wasn't just tech, it was a prison. Embedded during his last mission, it captured more than data. It recorded every failure, every moment Mira vanished from reach. Late at night, when the city's neon haze faded, Cal replayed that final scene endlessly. Her voice, soft, pleading, haunted him more than any ghost. The truth was buried beneath layers of corporate lies and encrypted files, but he felt it close, like a pulse beneath his skin. His trench coat hung heavy on his shoulders, as weighted as the regrets he carried. Cal's personal code wasn't about justice. It was about survival, redemption, and maybe, just maybe, finding a sliver of hope in a city designed to crush souls. Every lead, every case, was a step toward that flicker. And against the odds, he wasn't ready to give up. The slums never forget. Lyra's first memories were of cramped, rain-slick alleys, lit by flickering holo ads and the distant hum of hover cars she could never afford. Born into the city's underbelly, survival was an art, and betrayal was currency. Her brother, Cade, was the only family she had left. When NeuroDyne's agents swept through the district, dragging children and dissenters into their shadow labs, Lyra fought tooth and nail to protect him. But the megacorp's reach was endless. They captured Cade first. Desperation drove Lyra to make a deal, a double-edged choice. She became a mole, feeding corporate secrets to the highest bidder to buy her brother's freedom. Every lie etched another crack in her soul. Cybernetic augmentations turned her into a weapon. Quick reflexes, enhanced vision, neural boosters. But the real battle was inside, between who she was and who she had to become. When Cade disappeared during a failed experiment, Lyra's loyalty shattered. She turned her skills against NeuroDyne, seeking vengeance in the shadows. Her past is a battlefield of trust betrayed, love lost, and the blurred lines between right and wrong. In a city drowning in neon and decay, Lyra walks the razor's edge, always one step from the abyss. Lyra stood on the rooftop, rain slicing through the neon haze like shards of glass. Below, the city sprawled, a tangled web of light and shadow, truth and lies. Her fingers trembled slightly as she adjusted the neural booster implanted beneath her skin, a constant reminder of the price she'd paid. Cade's face haunted her dreams, the boy she'd sworn to protect, now lost somewhere in NeuroDyne's experiments. Her past as a mole wasn't just a secret, It was a scar that made every alliance fragile. Trust came cheap in this city, and betrayal cheaper. Yet, despite the darkness, she held on to a sliver of hope. Maybe with Cal and the others, she could fight back, but the Razor's edge was unforgiving. One misstep, one wrong move, and everything she'd sacrificed would be for nothing. She exhaled, letting the rain wash over her, and prepared to dive back into the neon-lit war zone. The bunker's walls vibrated with the distant rumble of explosions. NeuroDyne's grip on the city tightening with every second. Cal checked his implant's feed, security drones converging fast. The reset protocol's timer was bleeding down. Lyra's voice crackled through the calm, sharp and focused. "We've got hostiles incoming. Jax, cover the rear. Nox, prep the deck for a hard breach." Jax grunted, already loading his cybernetic arms combat mod. "Let them come. I'm ready." Nox's fingers danced over his portable deck, sweat beading on his brow. "Firewall's a fortress, but I can crack it if we hold long enough." Echo's hologram shimmered beside Cal. "They're pushing data spikes through the network, trying to corrupt the core." The room grew tense, the line between man and machine blurring as the final battle approached. Cal exhaled smoke, eyes narrowing. "This isn't just about the city. It's about who controls our very souls." A shadow moved outside the reinforced door. "They're here." The door shattered under a blast of plasma fire, metal screaming as it twisted inward. Cal rolled into cover, firing back with cold precision. Sparks rained from the ceiling as security drones swarmed, their cold mechanical eyes locking onto us like predators. Lyra moved like a shadow, blades flashing, swift and lethal. Each strike was a dance of desperation and resolve. Jax held the line, his cybernetic arm unleashing brutal force against the advancing threat. The air buzzed with the clash of steel and circuitry. Nox's fingers flew across his deck, sweat slicking his palms. "I'm in the system, but the ice is adaptive. They're throwing countermeasures." Echo flickered, her hologram warping under the strain. "Core integrity failing. We have minutes before total collapse." Cal's heart pounded beneath layers of augmentations. "We stop the reset, or everything ends." Suddenly, a figure emerged from the smoke, masked, armed, and moving with deadly intent. "Looking for me?" Cal growled,